All right, hello and welcome everyone to our STEM at Syracuse themed academic session. My name is Kate Domagal. I'm an admissions counselor here at Syracuse and I'm going to be your host for this evening. We're going to give it a minute or so, a few seconds for everyone to come into the Zoom session and join us. We know it takes a few seconds to do that when you click the link, so welcome. We should have a great group with us here tonight, and we're excited to talk to you about all the different academic paths available to you regarding STEM, engineering, and math. So thrilled that you're spending part of your evening or afternoon or wherever you're joining us from around the country or across the globe. We're glad that you're here. So in a minute, I'm going to introduce our panelists, but before I do so, I do want to make a couple of announcements. The first is that this session this evening is actually part of a series, Academics at Syracuse. The first session was last Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and for the next several weeks, we'll be continuing to talk about different academic themes and different academic areas that you can study at Syracuse, including communications and technology, or business, policy, government, and social justice. So if any of those sound interesting to you, I encourage you after tonight to go back on our website and sign up for those. We'd be happy to see you at any and all. The second announcement, just briefly, we do have a Q&A box available for you this evening. So you came prepared with any questions or any come up for you during the session, feel free to chat those into the Q&A box. Our colleagues Jessica, Tammy, and Jake are behind the scenes to help answer your questions, and they're also going to designate some questions for our panelists to answer live at the end. So we want to hear your questions. We want to make sure you're getting those answered, so please don't be shy. Use the Q&A box as we go. Next, we're going to dig in. I think everyone hopefully has been able to join. And so I do just want to cover a little overview of what we're going to cover tonight, rather. So why study STEM at Syracuse? You're going to hear tonight from four panelists, four of my colleagues from across campus. But at Syracuse, you have a great ability to customize your education. We have over 200 majors and 100 minors, some of which you're going to hear about tonight, as well as options to double major and pursue dual enrollment, which we'll define for you in just a minute. We are a Research One university, so we're going to be talking about lots of different research opportunities for you to get involved with as a student and even earn your own funding for your personal ideas and projects. And lastly, Syracuse as a campus and Syracuse as a city, we have many opportunities for you to take advantage of while you're here as a student, from study abroad opportunities to clubs and organizations, as well as a city, as I mentioned, full of resources, including 3 local hospitals, community health centers, a zoo, and plenty of other options for you to get involved on and off campus. So excited for you to be here with us tonight as we dig in. I do want to mention that we're going to be throwing a lot of information at you, so we don't expect you to memorize it. We know you're just maybe learning about Syracuse or just kind of digging into what you want to study. So all of us here tonight are here to help, both this evening as well as throughout your college search and application process. And at the end, we are going to put up everyone's contact information for you to reach out. We want to encourage you to continue the conversation with us. And we'll also talk about some other virtual opportunities for you to learn more if there's an area that you're really interested in here at Syracuse. So with that, I want to introduce our panelists. If you could all give a wave when I say your name, and then on the next slide, we're going to allow everyone to give an introduction of themselves as well. So first is Christopher Anderson. Chris is our Director of Graduate and Undergraduate Recruitment in our College of Arts and Sciences. Hi, Chris. Felicia Otero, who is our Director of Admissions in our College of Sport and Human Dynamics. Hi, Felicia. Jonathan Hoster from our College of Engineering and Computer Science, where he's an undergraduate recruitment specialist. And last but not least, Stephanie Warden, our Assistant Director of Undergraduate Recruitment in our School of Information Studies, or our iSchool as we like to call it. So welcome everyone, we're so excited to have you with us. I'm gonna lean on you to be the subject matter experts tonight, so glad that you're here, and I know our students who are attending are excited to hear from you as well. Okay, so the first topic up for discussion tonight is, of course, academics. So as I mentioned, at Syracuse, we have 200 different majors and 100 minors, and those are segmented between 10 undergraduate schools and colleges, 4 of which you just saw you're going to hear from tonight, and you can see those on the screen here as well. I'm going to ask our panelists to take about 30 seconds to a minute to talk a high-level overview about some of their programs and offerings. But before I do so, I do want to define a couple terms for you. So at Syracuse, we offer both dual programs and double majors. So if you are a student who has more than one academic major in mind, or you're undecided but you're juggling a few interests, something to consider would be a dual program. So many of our colleges, and we're going to hear some examples tonight, offer dual programs. Dual programs are when you're taking two majors offered by two different schools or colleges on campus, and they work together to confer you one degree when you graduate from Syracuse. So those requirements are kind of streamlined, so you can graduate in 4 years. But an example, a STEM example might be a student in our College of Arts and Sciences, for example, who's studying biotechnology, but who's also dually enrolled in our Whitman School of Management. Maybe they're taking an entrepreneurship major along with that biotechnology major. So that's an example of a dual program. We also offer double majors, which are two majors within the same school or college, minors, 100 different minors across campus, and then concentrations, which are within a major. So I'm gonna open it up to our panelists now to talk about some of those examples so they can hopefully become a little bit more clear. Stephanie, I'm wondering if you would kick us off. I know that the iSchool, the major, has several concentrations, so go ahead and tell us about the iSchool.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. So I'm here to talk a little bit about the iSchool, which everything you're going to hear tonight, the iSchool will pair well with literally any major on campus. And to put it really simply, at the iSchool, we make decisions using data and information, whether that's in the health sciences, in the communications space, in public health. Anything that we do these days uses technology and information to inform decisions. And so that's what we're doing. So we have one major, it's called Information Management and Technology. And then you pick a concentration within that because it's so broad. So we have 6 concentrations. We have web design, data analytics, network security, project management, digital retail, and yep, that's the 6. So what you can do is pair that with anything. So what do I mean by that? When you're thinking about how organizations make decisions, they probably ask questions about who their audience is, what the goal is, and how do we define things. And so there are people at the iSchool that help organize the data and information to do that. A very simple example that you're probably all familiar with is the COVID crisis that we're in. There's lots of data. iSchool students ask questions like, what do we do with this data to make the public safer? They might ask that question in a business context or another context. And so our students go and work in every type of organization you can imagine, from Amazon to Walt Disney. And so as we go through this, this is a little bit of a different major because it's very broad and then narrows, where our other panelists will have different organizations of their majors. So I think, does that answer your question, Caitlin? Awesome, thanks.
Oh, okay. Next, Felicia, I'm wondering if you would talk a little bit about some of the STEM opportunities within Falk College, just briefly. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm sorry about that. So Falk College is the College of Sport and Human Dynamics, and some of our programs, STEM-related programs, are certainly falling under those umbrella terms. So for example, we have our Health and Exercise Science major. All of our majors actually have this common sort of health and helping professions common denominator. Our students come asking questions about being a physical therapist, a doctor, a nurse, a data analyst. They want a pre-med, or they want to be a veterinarian, a med major, and they're looking at programs that fit the bill. So they look down at Falk College and they see programs like food studies, and nutrition science, which go together very well. Health and exercise science, the public health, which has a 4+1 program that is very, very broad in terms of what interests you bring and what kind of career interests you would like to pursue. And then our newest is our sport analytics major, which is for those who are looking for perhaps an applied math program, who want to be a data scientist, a data analyst, and they're looking for ways to do that in a particular setting. So in that case, it would be a sport-related setting, whether it's sport and performance or sport and business. So when the students talk about careers, they're talking about, as I say, doctor, nurse, physical therapist, scientist, researcher, data analyst, and they're looking at different settings as well. We're looking at settings in business and government and nonprofit and hospitals and clinics and athletic facilities, scientific labs, NGOs. And the idea is that when you come to Fall College with these kinds of interests, these kinds of career aspirations, that you'll have quite a number of options to choose from. Some of the great things about Fall College would be that we have flexible majors so that you can fit a dual or a double major, for example, because there's lots of room to pick and choose from different majors, that you'll be able to certainly add a minor, maybe 2 minors, and if you're really ambitious, maybe 3 minors, so that you can pick and choose all the different interests you have to pursue that career and setting that you're looking for. Whether it's a minor inside Fall College, taking a health and exercise science and a nutrition minor, or a nutrition major and a public health minor, those are the sorts of things that we can help you with. The other thing I want to mention about Fall College and all these potential STEM majors for you is that it's very important that we've been a long time in the community, and we have just about every setting, every expertise, every expert that you can think of that you may need to expose yourself to learn from, to do research with, because we've been partnering with the community for so long. And so whatever interests you bring or develop along the way, we'll be able to advance that in your not just in the classroom, but outside the classroom. One of the main signatures of Fall College is theory to practice, and we really do mean that. Yes, you get a lot of theory in the classroom, but if you're going to be a nutrition scientist, if you're going to be a public health specialist, we want you to go out in the community, work at one of the hospitals across the street, working at maybe a nonprofit organization like the American Red Cross, working with sport data collection here in the community. So all these things put together help you become not just an educated Syracuse University grad, but one with built-in skills, knowledge, and experience. And the last thing I'll mention, which is certainly not least, is that Fall College has our own research center, and we think it is critical for you to get some experience in research as soon as you can. And so we have our Fall College faculty research center, which will allow you to partner with a faculty member doing some research that is of interest to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Felicia. And yes, we're going to be hearing much more about research opportunities in just a few slides here. Jonathan, I'd love for you to be able to share about our College of Engineering and Computer Science, a little bit about the programs there.
Sure. Thanks so much, Kate. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to be here. As you can see on the screen, the College of Engineering and Computer Science is split into 4 departments that you see listed there with the bullets. And actually, that explains all of our majors too. The only major that's not actually called out in the department names would be computer engineering. So we actually have 9 majors in engineering and computer science. Some people know exactly which one they want to do. I know, Anthony, you asked in the chat about chemical engineering, which is a great option. And actually, I think all engineering degrees are great options that lead to outstanding career opportunities. So some students know exactly which kind of engineering they want to do when they start out. Other students aren't sure. They might have taken physics as a junior in high school and they liked it, or their physics teacher recommended that they go into engineering, and they're trying to figure out which area of engineering might be the best fit, and that's totally cool as well. So whether you've known since you were 3 years old that you wanted to be a civil engineer, or whether you just developed an engineering interest recently, we'll work with you where you are and help you find a great fit for you. And like Kate said, we'll be talking more about the specific opportunities in these programs as we go throughout the night. So thanks for being here.
Awesome, thanks. And then last but not least, Chris, from our largest college across campus, our College of Arts and Sciences, please share a little bit with us.
Yeah, hi everyone, and thanks for joining us. As Kate just said, the College of Arts and Sciences, we are the largest college out of all the schools and colleges at Syracuse University. In total, we have 50 different majors, and we pair with the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs to offer a really well-rounded liberal arts experience. We're one of the most flexible schools and colleges at Syracuse, where you can fit in many, many majors. We even have some students who do 2, 3, or maybe even 4 majors. We see students doing minors in some of the other schools, but we're also the home of the traditional natural sciences. A lot of students come to Syracuse University and they're interested in biology, chemistry, biochemistry, physics, but you'll see a whole bunch of other sciences on the slide. And actually, most of our sciences, 14 of them, don't even fit in our section because we have so many sciences that you can study. Some of the more popular ones these days that aren't like in the traditional areas are forensics and neuroscience, but we even have some science-related majors such as health humanities, where if you say you want to go to medical school, but you don't want to major in biology, there's a way to weave the humanities into that. We tend to have a lot of research available. I know there are going to be some conversations about research in the future, but certainly we have a lot of undergraduates who are available, who are involved in the research that's available to them. And we have a lot of interesting combinations. So we have a student right now, her name is Ava, and she's majoring in physics, but is also doing a major in political science. And she's doing research on the political cover-ups related to nuclear disasters. So she's applying her nuclear physics knowledge to a political science field. So if you have interests that span lots of different areas, and one of those areas is science or technology, then we'd be a really good place for you.
Awesome. Thank you all. So hopefully you got a chance to hear just a tidbit from each school and college that is represented here tonight. But remember, we have 10 schools and colleges, and definitely encourage you to check out all of the majors and minors available to you within STEM, including those that wouldn't fit on the slide. So I'm wondering if one of my colleagues in the chat would share that link to all of our undergraduate majors and minors so students can peruse that when they have time. So now we'd like to dig into what advising, both academic and career advising, looks like at Syracuse. We're really proud of our advising centers here at Syracuse. And I'd love to invite Stephanie to kind of kick us off, give us an overview of what students can expect when they come to Syracuse in terms of assistance, advice, guidance, and that.
Absolutely. So when you become a Syracuse University student, almost every school and college has a student to help advise you when you get here. Sometimes they're called peer advisors, sometimes they're called ambassadors, but they are likely in your major and in your school to help you navigate the process from orientation, even through picking classes in your first semester and beyond. So that's like one level of advising. Then every student at Syracuse University has an academic advisor housed in your school and college that helps, they know, let's say, they know the curriculum like the back of their hand. They know what math class you need. They know what music class you should take if you are interested in that, or the requirements for a minor or double majoring. They're really there to help you navigate the process and make sure you graduate on time, but also get all the experiences in that you want during your Syracuse University time. For example, you're likely to want to study abroad, or many of you are going to want to do that. They'll help you navigate that and choose the classes at the right time. So maybe you're not taking art history on campus, but you're taking it in Florence. So they'll be able to help you navigate that. If you have an internship requirement, they'll help you with that. If you have other experiences outside the classroom, they can help integrate that into your academic experience. So every school and college has an advising team like that. And then we also have in all the schools and colleges and generally at Syracuse University, career advising. That extends to internships as well. So these are people that have explicit and wonderful domain knowledge in your area. So Chris can talk all about how students in arts and sciences have a pre-health advisor or maybe pre-law. At the iSchool, our career advisors have specific domain knowledge in the technology field and know what the hiring practices are at Amazon or Deloitte or other places like that to help you tailor your resume, to help you do mock interviews, to prepare you for career fairs. Speaking of career fairs, we just had our STEM career fair. It was virtual this year. It went very well. So employers, even in this time, are still coming to you. So again, there's 3 types of advising when you come to Syracuse, likely a peer that's been through the experience just like you, and including external transfer students. Then there's career staff advisors to help you with degree requirements, and then of course, career advising as well.
Awesome, thank you. And Chris, will you follow up and tell our participants tonight a little bit about our pre-health advising office?
Absolutely. So Syracuse University offers a pre-health advising office, which is open to students from any school or college. I can't recall if we've actually mentioned the number of colleges that we have, but there are 10 schools and colleges that offer undergraduate degrees, and you can be pre-med or pre-dental, pre-vet, pre-pharmacy, majoring in any of them. A lot of students will choose to major in the College of Arts and Sciences, some major in engineering or Falk, but really you can pick any major you want and go on to medical, dental, vet, or pharmacy school. We also see students who go on to nursing programs, physical therapy programs, physician assistant programs, occupational therapy programs, all sorts of different things that you can do in health-related fields. And the main thing that you would need to know is that you can decide now if that's something you might want to do, or ideally within the first 2 years at Syracuse University. If you come to Syracuse University and you earn your bachelor's degree, you would have access to the pre-health advising office for the rest of your life. It's not for just when you're at Syracuse University. So if you graduate and 2 years after you graduate, you decide you want to go to dental school, you can call up our advisors and they will help you. And all of our students and our alums, they get one-on-one advising. It's not just group advising. They offer some advice as far as what you can do outside the classroom. We have 4 hospitals right in Syracuse, right across the street where you can volunteer and shadow. We have free MCAT prep to make sure that you're ready for that very important entrance exam to get into medical school. And we also see a lot of students who are able and go around the country and around the world and get involved in clinical settings. So we actually have an organization called Global Medical Brigades, and that program will take students to South America to help set up medical clinics in high-need rural areas alongside doctors and dentists in places like Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and that would be a great experience to get medical experience and also get some time to learn about another culture. So certainly very valuable to have on your resume. We have some special partnerships with a number of medical schools. One of those is with SUNY Upstate Medical University, which is right across the street. We have a new program called the Accelerated Scholars Program, and actually it's broken down into 2 pathways. One would be a 3+4 medical degree program where you'd spend 3 years at Syracuse University and 4 years at SUNY Upstate Medical University. You would have to major in biology. If you'd like to do that same program, but you don't want to major in biology, you can pick any other major, but it would be converted into a 4+4 program, also ultimately ending up in a medical degree. We also have partnerships with Albany Medical College and Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine, but those programs would be something you would join once you come to Syracuse University, in addition to having the Accelerated Scholars Program, which is through SUNY Upstate, which you can actually apply to right in the common application. SUNY Upstate also has an early assurance program for those who decide they want to go to SUNY Upstate once they come to Syracuse University. So I know that was a lot of information that I just threw out there. If you have any questions about any of our medical connections, anything to do with dental, vet, pharmacy, anything in healthcare, let us know, and we'll be happy to answer those questions.
Awesome. And Chris, I did see a question come in already about pre-health. Do students need to know, or indicate on the application that they're interested in pre-health advising, or how does that work?
So there's definitely an option to indicate your interest in pre-health in the common application. There's also that option that I shared to indicate your interest in this guaranteed accelerated medical school program. But if you are undecided at this point and you don't want to put it in the application for one reason or another, don't feel like you have to. That will just help our academic advisors when you come in your first semester to make sure that you're getting in the right classes right from day one. Now, like I said before, you can decide later. It might kind of adjust your timeline for when you apply to medical school, but certainly if you're thinking about medical, dental, vet, pharmacy, nursing, physical therapy, physician assistant, any of that stuff, please put it right in the application so we can be aware of that interest and get started talking about it right from the start. Just because you put it in the application doesn't mean that's what you absolutely have to do. So if you change your mind, that's not a problem.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so moving right along, I want to definitely talk about our research opportunities at Syracuse. So if I haven't mentioned already, at Syracuse we are a Research One University, which essentially means we put a lot of funding, effort, and resources behind research, both for our professors and faculty members, as well as for our students. So I'd love to invite Jonathan to talk a little bit, give us an overview of some of the experiences students can pursue in research, starting as soon as their first year on campus.
Sure, Kate, thank you. I'd love to. Research is an excellent opportunity at Syracuse. As Kate mentioned, we have a number of undergraduates who are pursuing research in significant ways. Some students get really involved in research. They present their research at conferences across the country. Some of them co-author journal articles with professors. Sometimes this propels them into graduate school because they decide they love doing research and want to do it at an even deeper level. There are amazing research facilities on campus. One of the ones I want to highlight is called the Bio-Inspired Institute. The Bio-Inspired Institute is an awesome example of how STEM comes together. This is the integration of medicine, physics, biology, chemistry, biomedical engineering, chemical engineering, neuroscience, etc. And they're solving problems for people is what is the big picture of what's happening in the Bio-Inspired Institute. This is things like developing shape memory polymers that can be used to stop serious bleeding issues, for instance. It's prosthetics, all kinds of things applying science to medicine. So there's really exciting things happening there. Again, in the medicine field, as Chris mentioned, we have a number of hospitals right here adjacent to our campus, including a teaching hospital called Upstate Medical. We have a number of our Syracuse University undergraduates who actually get research experience on the medical school campus while they're undergraduates. One of my other favorite institutes on campus is called the Center of Excellence for Environmental and Energy Systems. There are some really amazing things happening there in the world of energy and research around energy, clean energy, renewable resources. Things like a green roof project, which prevents stormwater from unnecessarily going into our wastewater treatment systems and instead reuses that stormwater for things that don't require potable water. We also do some really interesting research on fuel cells, and we have students and faculty that are working on calcium ion batteries as an alternative to lithium ion. Those are just a couple examples, but suffice it to say, there are tremendous research opportunities here for STEM students, and we would encourage you to get involved in research, as Kate said, as early as your freshman year, if you like.
Awesome, thank you. And Chris, I'm wondering if you'll follow up with that. Tell students what our source office is and how they could potentially earn funding for their research.
Yeah, so I find that a lot of students who are thinking about coming to Syracuse University, they hadn't really thought about research, or maybe they thought research was just for faculty members and graduate students. But as I said earlier, we have a lot of undergraduates who are involved. And in order to make sure the process is relatively easy for them to find research opportunities, get funding, make sure that they have plenty of mentorship, make sure that if their research is strong enough, they can actually get published, we have an office called The Source, and they are dedicated to undergraduate research. And they work with students who are interested in trying to solve problems that no one else has ever solved before with our faculty by getting involved with our R1 research. Now, I say that these students are trying to discover problems that have never been solved before because that's exactly what research is. You're trying to figure something out that no one else in the course of human history has ever figured out before. So if that sounds appealing to you and you want to do something in your intended major or an area that sounds really, really exciting to you that we offer at Syracuse University, we encourage students to network with their professors, talk to the professors about what they're doing in their research, work with the source, and you might be able, as early as your second semester of freshman year or sometime during your sophomore year, start doing active research. And we've had students, I mentioned Ava before, who's applying her knowledge of nuclear physics to an area related to political science, but we have students who do traditional things right in the science. So we had a student just a few years ago, Samantha Uzman. She was actually an undergraduate in a physics lab, and she was one of the actual people who helped detect gravitational waves out in space that ultimately resulted in a Nobel Prize. We have students who are in biology who are actually looking at the growth of the facial structures in fish that have been able to have applications to humans when infants are born and they have a cleft palate. New techniques that can be developed to actually make sure that the facial components in the human will develop a little bit more the standard way. We have a professor who has a number of undergraduates in chemistry who is looking at new ways to deliver insulin, Professor Robert Doyle, and he has a number of undergraduates in his lab. And you know, the source is a really great resource for any student interested in undergraduate research, but I always like to emphasize that our faculty members, they are real people. They are nice people, and they are doing research, and you can meet with them too and see if they have any room in their lab and try to figure something out that would make the world a better place. Certainly across all of STEM, there are great opportunities. I'm most familiar with the science ones because that's what my college offers, but I'm sure my colleagues will be able to talk a little bit about more of those opportunities as we go through the presentation.
Definitely. Thank you both. Yes, if you have any, areas of interest that you'd like to hear more about research regarding, please let us know in the chat or in the Q&A box. Still open. Looking forward to getting to that shortly. So next, of course, there is a life outside of your major and your minor and your research on campus. We have so many opportunities to choose from for Syracuse students to get involved and hands-on experiences. So I'd love to invite Felicia to kind of kick us off. Tell us a little bit about some student clubs and organizations and opportunities for STEM students to get involved on campus.
Well, I know mostly about Fall College, and I can tell you that these kinds of experiences happen in every single one of the colleges. For example, in our department in health and education, or health and exercise science, we have students who actually go to Nepal to study high altitude, the human response to high altitude. So they're climbing Mount Everest. I'm not sure if that's something as exciting as you want to take on, but I think that's pretty amazing. But they have altitude simulation labs here, exercise biochemistry labs, and as Chris did a really good job of talking about, building up the interest in research with the faculty interest in research. And one thing you can do, certainly on our web pages, you can go into the faculty directories and they'll list all their expertise and they'll list all their research interests. And if you find an interest there that matches up with you, then you might want to get to know that faculty member a little bit more, and certainly quickly in your first year, if not your second year. We have all kinds of opportunities to work in labs. Our assessment, consultation, and education center, for example, in our nutrition department, has simulation labs where you can actually do nutritional assessments and work with the faculty members in topic areas like pediatric nutrition, the food as medicine. If these are topics that you're interested in too, we have some people that you definitely will want to meet. Our public health program has research topics which are certainly ripped from the headlines. Our public health faculty have become literally the experts on campus, with epidemiology and infectious diseases being everywhere you look and everywhere you turn your eyes. You can't even avert it if you wanted to. So our faculty here in public health are working with students now to try to come up with the protocols that we've come up with to keep Syracuse University healthy for our students, our prospective students, our current students. They're collecting data, they're analyzing data, and even the students are learning how to be COVID tracers. So there's a lot of things that could be done in that area of epidemiology and infectious disease. Our analytics programs, for example, all of our programs, as I mentioned, theory to practice, is about getting experience and doing some research topic that will be fascinating to you and will work perfectly into your plan for a career. For those of you who want to be applied math majors and want to go into analytics and be data scientists, and you happen to have an interest in sport, it's a perfect place for you, since you'll be required to do a 2-semester research project. So that's not a lot of fluff there. That'll be a hard thing to come up with, that theory that you're going to try to prove one way or another, and you'll work closely with the faculty members in order to do that. Some of our students doing their research studies right now prefer to focus on performance. So athletic performance, for example, looking at athletes and trying to identify the variables that you can study in order to identify who's going to be the best pitchers, or what kind of medical data do you need to identify in order to figure out the likelihood of performance being accelerated in a particular situation. Also in our analytics program, the students are going to pick their sport of choice, and then they're probably going to do analytics surrounding in that particular sport. So we have our analytics clubs, we have analytics in basketball and football, and you name it. And you'll work with your faculty members. You'll be doing competitions across the university and certainly across the United States. Our students have been competing with graduate students and people all over the country and have been winning competitions and doing presentations on their research. So lots of things to do across campus and at Fall College.
Awesome. Thank you, Felicia. And Stephanie, I'm wondering if you can follow it up. Tell us, I know you already mentioned our STEM career fair that was held virtually, but if you could talk a little bit more about some opportunities on campus for students to get involved, both inside STEM opportunities and outside.
Sure. To start, we have the #1 ranked college newspaper in the country. It's called the Daily Orange. It's an independently run newspaper. iSchool students run data analytics on headlines, which are really cool. But I really think that what makes Syracuse University outstanding is the type of clubs that we have, from political clubs, social clubs, artistic clubs, you name it, you can do it at Syracuse. We have numerous dance teams, many a cappella groups. It's just like Pitch Perfect. It's super fun. We have club sports, intramural sports, all different types of things like Quidditch, if you're a Harry Potter fan or like to play. And if you're interested in something a little bit more toward your career or your academic interests, you can do clubs like we have a data analytics club. I know there's a bunch of biology clubs, but there's also outdoor and recreation activities. Syracuse is located in a really beautiful area of central New York, where we have both an urban side and we have lots of state parks and things like that. So you can do recreational activities, including skiing. So there is a lot to do on campus, and you can pair that with your major, or it can be something that you just enjoy because it's fun. And so lots of things to do. And so since Caitlin asked me, I talk a little bit about something a little bit special at Syracuse University. I did mention study abroad, but there are different types of immersion programs that you can do. Immersion meaning we take you outside the classroom to experience your domain knowledge outside of that. So the iSchool specifically has 2 programs called Eurotech and Asia Tech, where we'll take you to Europe and Asia and we'll explore technology and companies that don't seem to be technology companies, like Nestle. They make chocolate. What the heck do they have to do with technology, right? Or Heineken, or CERN, where the Hadron Collider is. So we'll take you out of the classroom to see how all of the things that you're learning interact differently. We also go to Ireland over spring break, and we explore why are technology companies moving to places like Dublin. Then we even do road trips. So they're themed every semester. Of course, this is when we can travel. And we'll do entertainment in New York City. We'll do banking on Wall Street. We'll do sports in Buffalo, and we'll eat with the Buffalo Bills, which I did. I went on that trip. It was super fun. Now, while these are iSchool sponsored, any student can do this because IT is in everything. But you might just be interested, and they are for credit. So some are for credit and some are just for fun. So there's lots of things to do on campus, whether you're an athlete, you're into politics, you like to people watch, there's a club for that. And we hope that when you become a Syracuse University student that you engage in those clubs. And if there's not a club, you can start your own.
Yes, thank you both. So definitely want to echo what Stephanie mentioned in terms of so much ability that you'll have on campus to kind of customize, think about, a club organization that aligns with your major or something entirely different. So you can go on our website. Maybe my colleagues behind the scenes can chat this in too, but we have over 300 student organizations. You can peruse those. You can kind of search by theme. So definitely encourage you to check those out. And as the picture here shows, Out of the Orange is at one of our involvement fairs. So at the beginning of every semester, there's an involvement fair where you can peruse all of our clubs and organizations and sign up to get involved. So definitely, you're just hearing about a few of the opportunities available on campus throughout the session tonight, but I encourage you to continue your exploration afterwards as well and continue asking questions. Okay, so last but not least, I do want to delve more into our study abroad opportunities. Syracuse has so many of them, and it's a very popular thing to do here on campus. So Chris, do you want to take us through maybe an overview of what students can expect from study abroad when they come to Syracuse?
Yeah, sure. So Syracuse University is typically ranked as one of the top schools in the country for study abroad. A big part of that is because we have students, they have the opportunity to go pretty much all around the globe. We have our own centers, as it says on the slide, but we have a whole bunch of partnerships with other colleges and universities from around the world. So if you're interested in going to London, or you want to go to Strasbourg, France, or you want to go to Madrid, Spain, those options are available to you. If you want to go to Japan, or you want to go to South Africa, or you want to go to Dublin, you can go there. So a lot of times, a nice thing is you can find classes that may fit right into your major. Other times you may be taking classes that are satisfying graduation requirements, which might not necessarily be in your major, but will still count towards the overall number of credits you need to graduate. And we have study abroad ambassadors. We have study abroad advisors. We have a whole bunch of different people who you can talk to find out what might be the best fit for you. We have semester-long programs, we have short-term programs, we have summer programs. I've known students who've gone for a full academic year, both fall and spring. I also have known students who've gone for a full calendar year, meaning they went the fall, the spring, and the summer, all back to back to back. You can break it up and go at different times. Whatever you want to do, if there's a way to figure it out, we will figure it out. We have a student, Rachel. She went and studied abroad in Stockholm, Sweden, and that was during her junior year. And then during her senior year, she came back and she was heavily involved with biology research. So it's not like you just have to pick one of these opportunities. If you want to mix and match research, study abroad, you want to be involved with a really active student life, you can do all of these things, and you don't really have a ton of limits. So certainly if you want to study abroad, we will help you fit it in for whatever duration you want. A lot of students, they will choose to go during their junior year, but you can go pretty much any semester you want. In some schools and colleges, we even have the option to go in the first semester. Some students even go their last semester. And I think in just a minute, Jonathan's going to tell you more about those first semester programs.
Yes, so Jonathan, love for you to follow that up. Tell everyone about our discovery programs and what makes those unique.
Thanks, Kate. I clicked some button and now the PowerPoint went away, but now it's back. All right, I clicked it back. The discovery programs are a really unique opportunity at Syracuse because it allows students to study abroad in their very first semester. It's a really cool, really unique way to kickstart college. We have those options at 3 of our European centers. That would be in Madrid, Spain, in Strasbourg, France, and in Florence, Italy. This is actually a picture of one of our students, Raven. She studied abroad in Florence. Not when she was a freshman, she actually went there her sophomore year, but that's a picture of her abroad. She's a civil engineering senior right now. But if you're interested in the discovery programs, you will need to mark that on your application since it happens in the very first semester, and there'll be an additional question or two that will want you to answer. And we'll help you with all the logistics of working out that process to begin your semester at one of the Syracuse centers abroad. So you wouldn't be in Syracuse, New York for your first semester, but you'd be in Syracuse, Strasbourg, or Syracuse, Florence, or Syracuse, Madrid. And I think that really allows students to look at the next 7 semesters of their college experience really from a different set of eyes. They stay with a host family who treats them so well. I hear the stories all the time. A lot of those stories revolve around the food that the host families make for them. And they have Syracuse staff and facilities there in each of those locations to help with them with their transition to college and their transition to being in another country. So we highly recommend that you consider doing that. And those are great options specifically for students who are going into majors in the College of Arts and Sciences and the College of Engineering and Computer Science.
Awesome. Yeah, so definitely check out all of our study abroad locations and opportunities on our study abroad website, as well as more information about our discovery programs, both on the Common App and on our website as well. So at this point, I've been seeing those questions come in throughout the session. We want to make sure we take plenty of time to answer those, but I also want to point out that tonight's not the end of the discussion, okay? So before we close tonight, I'm going to put up all of our contact information so that you can continue to reach out. So if you heard from a school or college or individual that really interested you, I encourage you to follow up with them. Or if your question, you can't think of your question now, but it pops into your head tomorrow, reach out. We're here to help. As well as each of our schools and colleges, both those represented here tonight and the rest of our 10 undergraduate schools and colleges also offer specific virtual sessions where they go deeper into their majors, minors, dual programs, different opportunities for hands-on experiences, etc. So if you heard about a major or you're thinking about one that you want to learn more about, definitely go back on our website. My colleagues are going to share that link to our virtual sessions for prospective students as well, and definitely sign up for more. We encourage you to join more than one session, learn about all the opportunities, and continue to engage. So with that, I'm going to pull up our Q&A and see what questions you all have been asking. Okay, so first question I see here is, I'm going to direct this to Felicia. How is the food studies major different from nutrition science and dietetics?
Well, food studies is more about policy and advocacy, while nutrition is going to have a much heavier science concentration. But obviously people who are interested in food are often interested in nutrition, and there's a lot of crossover programs. So we'll have a lot of people trying to do a food studies minor with a nutrition major or vice versa.
Awesome. Okay, next question I'm going to direct to Jonathan, an engineering question for you here. Is the major biomedical and chemical engineering, or are they two separate majors? So I think this goes back to our slide where the bullet point was combined for the department, but Jonathan, you could shed a little light there.
Sure. Bailey, thanks so much for your question. Biomedical and chemical engineering are two separate majors, but they're related. So that's why we put them in the same department. So if you're trying to decide which area to go into, I'm happy to talk to you more about that. We're going to have sessions with faculty who can really explain the majors in much more detail. But you don't have to decide right away. So if you came to Syracuse and you put biomedical engineering, or we also call bioengineering, on your application, and then you decide you want to switch to chemical engineering, that's totally fine. So once you're in the engineering school, you have no restrictions on switching to another kind of engineering. And they're all great options too.
Yes, awesome. Okay, next question. I'm gonna say, Stephanie, would you take this one? Are you able to minor in a different school than you major in? And could maybe you share an example with that, Steph?
Yes, yes, and yes, you should. It's awesome. That's the value of Syracuse, is you can combine lots of different things. So a great example would be majoring in the I school and say maybe you want to minor in computer science. We had a student do that. His name is Chris Komicki, and he is now a full stack developer at Amazon. I have other students, Maeve, who just graduated, also at Amazon, but digital retail concentration, and then minored in a non-science field in the Whitman School. Last example, we had a student, Maya, who majored in the I school and minored in arts and sciences and forensic and policy studies, and now she works for the FBI. So there's lots of it, and you can do it opposite too. You can major in computer science and minor in the I school, or minor in the Falk school, or minor in any of the sciences, or any of the minors that we discussed today. So lots of flexibility, lots of options that Syracuse University encourages.
Awesome. I'm going to jump around here. So Felicia, another question I'm going to direct to you. How has COVID impacted student research at Syracuse, and how will SU ensure the safety of their students while also providing opportunities? So maybe you can talk about that. I'm sure you can share some public health examples of research as well.
Well, that's a big question. The university obviously has the highest priority of their faculty, staff, and student safety. And so everything we do these days has that in mind. We've done an awesome job so far, knock on wood. We've had very low issues, low problems, low infection rate. But as far as how does that affect research, it will be different with each individual example. So there are rules and protocol that we have to follow here on campus, which would include things like social distancing and the mask wearing, masks required everywhere. And so if you're going to go out in the community, that becomes an issue as well. And you need to follow the strictest protocol given by, New York State Governor Cuomo and the university officials as well. I don't think it's really everybody's getting very used to doing things on Zoom and team meetings and having group meetings virtual. And so we're plugging away with all the research options and opportunities that our students have, whether brand new students coming in just a few weeks ago or those who are graduating this year. So still lots of things that you can do.
Can I add on to that, Felicia? What I think is really cool is it's also created new opportunities for research. So if you go to the Syracuse University COVID dashboard, which is a public health dashboard showcasing all the cases or lack of cases, I'm happy to report, an iSchool student built that in coordination with public health officials. So of course we're keeping people safe, just as Felicia had mentioned, and we'll continue to do that, but it's also creating new ways to collaborate and new ways to think about different things that I think Syracuse University, because of the flexibility, can offer you. So there's some real positives that are coming out of it. Of course, it's a difficult time, but there are some opportunities that students can certainly take advantage of.
Definitely. And so, Stephanie, I'll keep you on the air there. We have Izzy asking about additional research opportunities for information science and technology majors. So want to tag team that one?
Oh my gosh, anything and everything. And this is for everyone too. On the eve of election, on the eve of the United States election, we will be doing a special lecture. You can come back to the admissions website and see one example with a real life faculty, just like Chris mentioned. Dr. Jenny Stromer-Galley will be showcasing some of her research on data and elections, which will be fascinating. So there's one. We have a Center for Computational and Data Science. We also have projects for students interested in the environmental space. So using data to inform how to make our cities smarter, whether that's how are we using our power more efficiently to how are we predicting when there are potholes and weather so that we can deploy plows or salt or whatever it might be. There's research in the languages as well. So maybe you don't want to study maybe the natural sciences, but you're interested in something else. So if you think about how Alexa or any of these smart devices process language, iSchool students are working on things like that. We had this iSchool student do this really amazing historical research project where he tracked on a map the beginning of instruments, like where instruments are born and how they change over time over a map. He's now going to be a graduate student in the library field because he's interested in music archiving. So if you think about anything that we've talked about, from the health sciences to the engineering field, data is in it. So even if you don't want to be an iSchool major, there's lots of ways to combine data and information in research in literally everything you can possibly imagine. So if you come to Syracuse University in the iSchool and you say, I'm really interested in this, any of the advising staff, any of the students can help direct you to that person who's likely doing research on it or knows someone who is. So lots of opportunities.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, calling you up, there's a couple questions here I think we can combine. So question about if the engineering program is project-based and also co-op opportunities for ECS students. Can you share about those?
Sure, yes, I noticed Cole had asked a question about project-based. So Cole, absolutely, there's a lot of projects in engineering and it starts in the very first semester in the introductory engineering class. Like if you tell us what kind of engineering you want to do, you'll be doing projects relating to that right away and you'll have a professor from that that area of engineering right away. Certainly there's theoretical classes too, which are really important too, that you need to have that foundation to be able to apply those things in labs. So there's definitely a balance of those things, but the projects start right away. And we have right here in the engineering school, a really awesome machine shop where students have both manual and CNC lathes and mills, in addition to 3D printers that they have access to, plus a makerspace on campus with a whole bay of 3D printers and many other really neat machines. In regard to internships and co-ops, all of the engineering and computer science students are connected to an engineering and computer science career advisor right away from the first day who follows them through their 4-year career along with their 2 other advisors, and they have direct access to that career advisor to work with them on their applications for things like internships and co-ops, where our students go across the country for those experiences during the summer and sometimes also during the school year. They get paid really well for those experiences, and that money they make typically pays for their housing wherever they are. And oftentimes they really impress the company that they're working for in those internships and co-ops, and that leads into a full-time job offer with the same company.
Awesome. Okay, a follow-up question, Stephanie and Jonathan, I'm gonna keep you on the line here. Popular question we get a lot. What's the difference between computer science, which is housed in our College of Engineering and Computer Science, and our information management and technology major in our iSchool? So maybe if you both want to take a tack at that and kind of explain from your perspective. Stephanie, you want to start?
Sure, I love this question. And it's a totally important question because you probably have taken an engineering class, but what is an iSchool class, right? Think of it very simply. Engineers build stuff, roads, bridges, highways, software, prosthetics, and that's really important. And Jonathan can tell you all about the importance of that. At the iSchool, we're not interested in building tools. We're interested in taking the data and information those tools collect and figuring out what to do with that. Say, an engineer builds a bridge, right? An engineer is going to think about what material do you need? What's the geography around it? Is it a pedestrian bridge or is it for a train, right? That will influence how you build the bridge. Where an iSchool student will say, awesome, thank you, engineer. I love this bridge, but I want to collect information about how many cars are going over it. What's the weather like? And is it impacting how the bridge is secure or not? Does it integrate with the interstate highway system? Does it work for the people? What about the people on the other side? How many people are there? Is there too much traffic? So do you see the difference? It's about taking information and figuring out what to do with it. Typically, information is collected by technology. Think computers, hardware, software, things like that. Let's do one more example. I like to describe the iSchool like Netflix, right? Is Netflix a software company? No. Is Netflix a data company? Maybe. Is Netflix an entertainment company? Sure. It's all three, I would say. So an engineer will build the tool, build how you access Netflix and how you get into it. But an iSchool student's going to say, hey, we have all this information about user behavior, when people are watching and when they're not watching. So we're going to develop new shows like Stranger Things or You, or like I'm watching, what am I watching right now? I'm watching a lot of different shows. It's COVID time. But then they'll develop new content to inform a business decision because they have all the data to do it. So it's a very short, simple example. If you want to hear more about how information is driving our economy, the job prospects, and what we're doing, please come to my session. I do them every Tuesday and Wednesday. But I'd love to hear how Jonathan would describe the difference as well to give everyone else an opportunity.
Sure, thanks, Stephanie. Yeah, so I think the question was about computer science. Computer scientists design and build technology. So a couple ways to think about that would be artificial intelligence. Stephanie was talking about like the Amazon Echo earlier and all those smart devices. So things that are commonplace in a lot of our lives right now, that we have this little box that can order us a pizza or tell us the weather and things like that. So understanding how those work, that's the kind of technology that's built by engineers and computer scientists. And I think a really cool way to think about computer science and engineering is think about things that are sci-fi right now. Like 10 or 15 years ago, the whole concept of the Amazon Alexa, that would have been science fiction. Think about things that are science fiction right now as we're having this conversation, that you and people of your generation are going to make into reality. That's what is really exciting, I think, about the world of technology and the world of computer science and engineering. Computer scientists also work a lot in the field of cybersecurity, keeping information safe and building systems to do that, whether it's for private companies, for the government, for banks as well, as I do all my banking through a mobile app, and I hope that they have cybersecurity professionals keeping my information safe. So throughout the computer science curriculum, you would learn a number of programming languages and understand how to apply those skills to build new technology. And I think that's a really exciting thing about the field.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing those very clear examples. So Chris, we didn't forget about you. We have two questions here I'm going to hit you with. The first one is from Catherine. She's interested in genetics. What major or track would you recommend? Is Chris still here? Okay.
Yep. For anyone who's interested in genetics, our biology program is really the right way to go. We have a number of genetics courses. We have a number of research projects related to genetics. And certainly if there's an interest in genetics, biology is the place that I would recommend that you pursue a major. And there are going to be lots of ways that you can apply it. It's just a matter of what you want to do related to genetics. So the research study that I mentioned earlier, looking at fish and how that they develop then their face develops, that's actually looking at their genes and how you can make some changes and how that can actually influence how the cells, the tissue, the bone, all that develops. So certainly there's great opportunity to study genetics at Syracuse.
Awesome. And a follow-up question for you, question about what does an internship that focuses in biology or forensic science look like? Can you share maybe some internship examples in those fields?
Yeah, so in Syracuse, we have the Wally Howard Jr. Center for Forensic Science, and there are people who are doing the crime scene investigation right here in Syracuse who are teaching the classes in blood splatter analysis, DNA analysis, firearms and ballistics, latent prints, and there are internships that relate to all of those things right here in Syracuse. We also see students going to other cities, in some cases working for the justice centers, the police departments of their hometown, but right here in Syracuse, you can do internships for our justice center down at Wally Howard. We actually also had a student who was pairing the two things that were just mentioned, biology and forensic science. and her ultimate goal was to become a medical examiner. So she had the opportunity to intern at the Syracuse morgue. So might sound a little morose, but it was exactly what she wants to do, and you know, appropriate for the question based on the two departments that were mentioned. So there are tons of opportunities. We've had students who've worked for the CIA, the FBI, ATF, DEA, all sorts of agencies related to the criminal justice fields. But certainly, if you aren't interested in that, there are other things that you can do related to forensics. We actually had a student just a few years ago. She was pulled away from criminal justice because the big battery company Duracell, they were looking for forensic science students. And so she was, right from day one, she thought she was going to work for the FBI or the CIA. But when she saw that job offer and the extra zeros that were in the salary offer, she changed her mind and ended up starting to work for Duracell.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I'm seeing we are almost at time. So last couple questions here. Jonathan, I'm hoping to put you on a spot. We have a couple of questions about engineering and how students could pursue dual programs is the question, or outside of other majors outside of STEM. And how difficult is it to be involved in other things when you're an engineering student, whether that's NCAA athletics or otherwise?
Sure, thanks, Kate. Yeah, I noticed that Jonathan asked a question about double majoring, and I thought he has a great name, so I'm happy to answer that question. So yeah, Jonathan, you can definitely double major in something outside of STEM if you want to as an engineering student. You do need to plan for that. So if you know from the beginning that this is what you want to do, you want to be an engineering major plus a physics major. Well, that's not a good example because that's STEM. Let's say, because a lot of my students do that, that's why that came to mind. Let's say you want to be an engineering major plus an art history major. You want to do engineering plus philosophy. You want to do engineering plus history. Those things are possible, but you do need to plan for it, and you just need to talk to us about that early on so your advisor can help you plan that out. And Kate, can you help me remind me of the second?
Yeah. How difficult is it to be involved, you know, outside of the classroom when you're an engineering student? Whether the question was about NCAA athletics, but maybe a student has other interests as well.
Sure, thanks. So you can absolutely do that, and we encourage students to do that in all majors. That it's really important to be focused on your academics, especially if you're in a STEM field that's going to require a lot of time on task. But it's important to give your STEM brain, give your engineering brain a little break once in a while and do other things. So if you're going to be an NCAA athlete here at Syracuse, I can tell you that we take the idea of a student athlete very seriously, meaning you will get a lot of academic support from the academic side of campus, like where I'm standing right now, but you also get a lot of academic support from the athletic side of campus to make sure you have that balance between your academic commitments and your athletic commitments. Same thing if you want to be in the marching band, you want to be in student government, if you want to do an a cappella group, there's all kinds of activities that our students participate in. I think that's a big strength at Syracuse. Like, we will help you, we'll encourage you, we'll support you to be successful in your academics, but also to pursue your other interests and passions too.
Awesome. Well, that was a great last few words to end on. Thank you. And thanks to all of our panelists tonight for being with us, as well as all of you who are joining in from home. We're so glad that you joined us to learn a little bit more about STEM. So of course, if you have further questions that didn't get answered tonight, or questions that come up later in your college search and application process, reach out to us. The emails for our panelists are here on the screen. They are the experts in their school or college, and will be more than happy to connect with you after tonight, as well as check out the link that my colleague Jessica put in the chat that links you to all of our other virtual sessions. So again, each of our schools and colleges has multiple virtual sessions coming up this fall that dive deeper into their offerings. And we also have plenty of other theme sessions, as well as current student panels, etc., available for you. So definitely encourage you to check those out. Continue to connect with us. And again, thank you to all our panelists. I appreciate you being with us tonight. And go Orange. Thanks, everyone, and have a great night.
Thanks, Kate.